A big part of what makes anime so emotional and epic is actually the work of the composers who are working on the music. Now, none of my anime projects are available quite yet, but I have been thinking. So I make anime style projects in comic form, so manga and webtoons. And I was thinking, like, why can't I make an anime soundtrack for my comic? So if you guys didn't know, I have this webtoon called Angel Wings, which is done with a professional mangaka, Komipa, and we have thousands of comments about how the music really elevates the reading experience and makes you feel so immersed that it almost feels like you're watching an anime as you're reading. Anyway, today is going to be about how I decided to invest some money into creating an original soundtrack for Angel Wings, among other series that we're also releasing at the studio, why I decided to make that investment, and also how we actually made the soundtrack with our talented composer Eric Viator, I think is how you pronounce his last name. I've actually never had to say it out loud. But before we get into the video, make sure to drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps us out. It's a free way to support the podcast and me in general. And if you are interested in more types of educational content regarding the anime, manga, webtoon industry, or just general entertainment, drop a subscribe and hit the bell noti so you can see when we make new videos. Now, let's get into the video, guys. If you don't know who I am, I'm Brandon Chen. I'm a professional manga and webtoon writer-producer. I run a studio where we create manga and webtoons, and the successful ones we try to take to animation. First, I want to get into why I decided to invest in this soundtrack for the series. So for productions where music is quite common, such as film, TV, video games, music is usually something that's built into the budget when you're budgeting for the development of your film or project. For manga or webtoons where music is not very common, that budget is usually not allocated from your distributor, publisher, whatever it is. That's not usually taken into account because music is just considered kind of extra. So of course I did the financially silly thing of a producer, and I took money out of my own pocket and I invested it into developing this original soundtrack for the series. And the reason I did this is because I thought it would help elevate the project and make it feel, again, more immersive. I've only experimented with music with my other series, Just a Goblin. We've done a few tracks, but not really a full soundtrack that we've, done pre-release. We're kind of developing music for Just a Goblin as we're releasing episodes. And so why did I spend the money, right? Why did I do this? One, selfishly, I really believe in the story, the characters, the art, and I wanted to make the project as awesome as possible, and so I wanted to put more into it by creating the soundtrack. But for the readers, I think it creates another layer of immersion to this series, and I see this in the comments when readers are reading, and there's moments where, you're reading, you're scrolling past the panel, and the music triggers, and it's so emotional, so epic. That feeling is only possible if we have the music to go along with the visuals and the story. And that's what makes it kind of feel like you're reading anime, because when you reach those emotional or epic moments, we can have it actually trigger music so that you can have this feeling as you're looking at the visuals, as you're reading the story, and that's why it kind of feels like anime. I know nothing about the music industry prior to working on this soundtrack, so it's been a really interesting and great learning experience as well. Another reason we made it is from the business perspective. If we have this series, Angel Wings, and it's very immersive, there's a lot of great music, and it feels like an anime. If a producer or a streamer comes and reads my series and they check it out and they see how much it feels like an anime, and then they can envision it as an anime, then the anime producer might reach out and make it an anime. So that's like a secret side thing that I thought would be another way to make the series also stand out. But creating music for a webtoon or manga series is a relatively newer functionality, and almost no one does it. And if they do, it's done very sparingly. That's because there is a huge opportunity cost to the budget that you could be using, right? I'm putting money into the music, but instead I could be reallocating that same money into more backgrounds, inking, coloring, etc. So, from a budgeting perspective, it's not really a great idea, because that money, again, could be used to elevate the production as opposed to just creating something that's kind of extra, I would say. So there are pluses, which I've outlined, and then there's also some minuses, which I've also outlined. So that's why I decided to create the soundtrack. Let's talk about how we made the soundtrack. So the first part is recruiting. How did I find the right musician or composer to partner with to create this soundtrack, and someone who knew the music industry and had some experience, but not someone who would necessarily worked on Dune and would run my pockets into the ground, right? So I put out a job board on LinkedIn and Twitter, pretty much asking for people who were composers that had background in anime composing to apply. And some of the talent that I was talking to was actually pretty insane. They've worked on some really major anime projects, and I could just tell that was totally out of my budget, because again, anime projects, they have this huge budget from, multiple companies joining a production committee, etc. But me, it's just my money coming out of my own pocket, right? So I had to get someone who could work within my price point and also deliver really high quality work, which is a hard thing to find. And I ended up working with Eric, who is a composer from video games and television. And I thought that his portfolio was the closest also to what we were looking for as well. He also knew a ton of the anime composers and references that Komipa and I envisioned for the series and was able to kind of capture that vibe. So I thought that we were a great fit. And so that was the first part, which is recruiting. And after you find the person, I think the next part is actually making the music. And so the second part was really finding the voice of the series. In this particular series is Angel Wings. And this wasn't particularly hard because when you have the story, you have the art already, you kind of can already envision what it would sound like or what it would look like as an anime, right? And so when you look at the themes and the art of Angel Wings, it took us not that much time to find out hey, we're looking at something that looks and feels like Makoto Shinkai's work. The series is about a devil and an angel who are switching bodies and ultimately are trying to resolve a mystery that might potentially overthrow the afterlife. And so with the focus on the afterlife, heaven and hell, we wanted the music to really feel very ethereal, I think. And we wanted a diverse amount of tracks that could fit different emotional or epic beats in the story. For example, we have a theme for the sadder moments, we have a theme for more casual moments, we have a theme for more epic moments, we have a theme for the heavenly city, we have a ominous theme. So creating a diverse set of music that can match different moments. Again, this is something that we learned from film, TV, video games. They all do this where, you have music that can match the tone of a moment within your story. So while I would have loved to make 1,000 different songs for every different moment in this series, that's not really viable. So we decided to create a few tracks for those few moments so that we could have the most diverse range of emotional music. And it's a lot better than if I were to create 5 soundtracks for just different sad moments, right? Instead, it was a lot better for us to create a wider range of music that can match the different emotions in the series. So we have the composer, we have the vibe. What's next, right? The next was thinking about references. So Komipa and I were then, we had the idea of what we liked, and then we wanted to look at different references from other popular anime soundtracks that really resonated with us, that were also fitting the vibe that we had identified in step 2, right? And so the composer Eric was really, really patient with me and Komi because we were just kind of throwing music that we loved. Some of it was not matching the vibe and some of it was. And we were just dumping our favorite composers like Hiroyuki Sawano, Radwimps, Kensuke Yoshio, as well as different anime that had really good soundtracks that had captured a really good vibe. Again, Chainsaw Man had a really good one that I liked. Makoto Shinkai's work with Your Name had music that I liked personally as well. Stuff done by Hiroyuki Sawano was stuff that I tended to recommend. And Komipa was drawing from a huge range of different songs, in particular like Persona as well. And so yeah, we were referencing anything from video games, anime, TV, film, and looking at those soundtracks and those vibes of those projects and trying to throw inspiration at the composer to try and get something that would fit the different types of the music that would come out for Angel Wings. And Eric took these references and the inspiration, he took it, put into a pot, and just churned out something completely new, which was amazing. I think it really helped that he had the chapters of Angel Wings to look at as reference. So using those references, knowing the vibe of the series, and then seeing the series itself helped him to create something that felt brand new as well. Now quickly, I want to say that if you guys are interested in learning more about how we make these types of series such as Angel Wings, more behind the scenes, and also like secret looks at scripts, sketches, just weekly mangaka advice as well, we put all of that stuff on our studio Patreon. Consider joining. Every dollar goes back into investing into artists or creative projects such as this music soundtrack. So consider joining if you're interested in more education or just curious about the behind the scenes of how we make our stuff. So just to recap, we found our composer, we found the voice of the series, then we found a bunch of references and inspiration. The fourth step is really iteration. So Eric would send us a sample of music and we would pretty much critique it. Here, let's add some instruments here. Hey, let's remove some of these instruments here. Hey, there's a little bit too much gap of silence in this moment. Let's change these beats. Let's loop these parts. There's a lot of feedback and back and forth that came between us and Eric, which was amazing. And because we're all remote, it's actually quite interesting because I thought it felt like we were all in like a music studio together, like kind of like mixing this song together, which was pretty fun. But it was really great because we were working with a composer that was extremely collaborative, and that was really important for me and Komipo, because I think, again, collaboration is really important if you want to make a really good product. And also, he's the music expert. Komipa and I were giving our inputs and our takes, but at the same time, like, we don't know music like that. We just know what we like to listen to. We don't know how to make it, the production side. Even the business side and the stuff about like distribution and all that stuff is all stuff that I had to learn through working with Eric as well. And so I think, you know, a good lesson and just a life lesson that I can give to you guys here from this experience is that when you're working with people who are better than you at something, which is honestly the best, you want to work with people who are better than you at different things that you're not good at. You really want to be able to trust these people. You want to be able to trust that they know their craft, and if they're better than you at this thing, that they can advise you, and that you're also open and willing to listen to them as well. Again, sometimes people are not always right, even if they're the experts. So make sure to also trust your gut, but also be humble as a leader and a producer that you don't know everything as well. So that was really important for especially developing this type of music, is just kind of letting the expert cook and giving some input and to help steer them in that direction as well. Now, the fifth step is really just implementing. Once we were happy with the music, all we had to do was really just plug this bad boy into the actual webtoon itself. So the way this works is that each week we look at the webtoon, we look at the soundtrack, we think about the different beats and the moments that are in the series that could align to different soundtracks that we have. Because webtoon is a digital medium, you're only seeing one image at a time, similar to like when you're watching television. And so when you're scrolling, this panel or this image shows up on the screen, that is when the music can actually trigger. And so, if you have a very emotional panel, you can actually have the music trigger at that specific panel, which is pretty cool. Again, this is only possible because our publisher Webtoon has a built-in technological functionality on their platform that allows for us to integrate music into the platform, which is super cool. And that is how I created my first anime soundtrack with Angel Wings, which was a super fun experience. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to comment the word of the video, feather. Let's go with feather. And so, yes, you can listen to the actual soundtrack on YouTube and Spotify Music, which is pretty cool. And make sure to check out Angel Wings on Webtoon if you're interested in seeing how the series actually looks now. We also followed a similar process with another series, Just the Goblin, which is also on Webtoon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.